Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. I'm Nick, and this is Super Simple Security Principles, part of the IHP Academy. This is episode 8, your master password. And as usual, I'm excited to be here. As always, I'm joined with Mac. Mac, what's the word today, bud?
Well, I think we got a good episode for our listeners today. We'll be picking up where we left off with episode 7.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, let's not even waste time. Let's jump straight in.
All right. Last week I gave you my sales pitch on using a password manager. And the next few episodes, starting today, are to help you get started on actually making that happen. Start using a password manager. And the first thing that you're going to need is a strong master password. And this is the password that protects all your other passwords that are stored inside your password manager. So today, you're going to learn how to pick a master password that's not only strong, but you can remember, and that you can type in without driving yourself crazy, even on your phone.
Sounds great. Let's make a password.
All right, let's do it. First, let's talk about how long your master password should be. I recommend at least 20 characters, but please, I beg of you, at least make it 12 characters. And here's 2 strategies to hopefully make this really easy to get it up to that length. Strategy 1 is just picking 3 to 5 words. Now, a lot of times when I tell people that they can pick words, they're surprised, but truly, you can have a strong password with using words as long as you pick the right type of words. And specifically, the less common the word is, the better. The worst kind, on the other end, are words that are associated with you, any personal information, names, address, birthdays, pets, your favorite sports team, any of the kinds of things that someone could find out about you online. And honestly, the simplest, strongest approach is to actually pick random words, which, just to be clear, that means using a computer to pick the words because humans are bad at randomness. And we'll include some links in the show notes for picking random words. Now, let me add this though, because using and trying to memorize random words, that might sound daunting, but you're going to be entering your master password often enough that it probably won't take you long to memorize it, even if you do use random words. That, my friends, is strategy number 1. Pick 3 to 5 words as your starting point. Now, strategy number 2 is to use a sentence. You can pick a sentence you can remember. It could even be from a book, and then use the first letter of each word in that sentence. Or you could do the last letter or the second, whatever works for you, but first is probably the easiest. You can also keep some full words in there to add a little bit more to the length. And here's just an example that I came up with. Meadows of hay and potatoes are dreading the harvest, which I know was kind of weird and whimsical, right? And if I use the first letter of each word there, but keep the full word dreading, for example, since that's kind of the most unique out of those words, that gives me a nice starting point of 16 characters. Now, you may have noticed, though, it's not thoroughly random. There is actually some personal connection to me. I live in Idaho and drive past fields of potatoes regularly, so this is why it came to my brain. But that's the nice thing about the sentence strategy, is avoiding every trace of personal information is far less important. Yes, the hacker probably knows that I live in Idaho, and maybe that means that, potato is on his list of words to guess for my password, but even that much connection is a bit of a stretch. But I'm not even using the whole word potato. It's only the letter P that ends up in there. So it's safe, but it's a lot easier for me to remember. So that wraps up strategy number 2. Pick a sentence, use a single letter from each word, and maybe keep a full word or 2 in there.
Okay, so concept 1 is we pick some random words, and the best way to use random words is computers. Then the next is using a sentence strategy, which I like because you could pick some keywords and then take the first letter of each word and keep it, or the second letter, or even the last letter, like you said, and you put together, you've got a structure. I love it.
Yep. Now we want to take that good long set of letters and mix things up a bit. We want to make at least one letter uppercase, and not necessarily a first or a last letter, but it could be a letter in the middle of the word. You might even make a whole word uppercase. Then you want to add at least, again, one number or more wherever in there. Just make sure they're not easily guessed numbers like your birthday or anniversary. And then finally, you want to add in, again, at least one symbol, a period, a comma, hashtag, $, star, whatever. Now, here's a very specific rule. A lot of these things are kind of fuzzy in general, but this is a very hard rule that I want you to follow. I want you to include at least one character from each of the character families, meaning I want at least one lowercase letter, one uppercase letter, one number, and one symbol. You can have many from each of those, that's fine, but I want you to have at least one. Then I also want you to consider, though, as you're adding in these other characters, that you're going to need to type it in. And not just on a full-size keyboard where it's easy to do, for example, the symbols, but think about your tiny phone keyboard too. You can even look at your phone and kind of check, okay, what screens am I going to have to go through on the keyboard to get to enter those, and just factor that in, because you want a strong password, but you also need to be able to use it without driving yourself completely crazy.
Absolutely. Dude, I went a little overboard here. When I heard you say 20, I thought, well, if 20 is good, 50 is better. First, by me going crazy with the special characters, it took me forever to memorize. Typing it into my computer isn't too bad. Typing it into my phone is brutal, absolutely brutal. So that said, make sure you do at least put some thought into it, right?
Yep, exactly. It's an easy thing to overlook, so I totally get it. When I taught you about that originally, I know I didn't mention that, so that's why I wanted to really emphasize it here to people. All right, so the last section is, once you pick your master password, you probably want to write it down. And please be sure you keep that written down copy someplace very secure, but be careful. Someplace secure often means someplace obscure that you're likely to forget. At least that's my personal experience. And, I am thinking I'm going to find the best hiding place for this thing, and it's so good that I just can't remember what it was. So anyway, once you start typing your master password regularly, this won't be a problem. You'll get it memorized quickly. And at that point, I leave it to you, honestly, if you decide to keep a written copy or not, because I've found people have strong feelings about this, and it's always a trade-off. You either risk someone finding that written copy, or you risk forgetting it. And which one feels like the greater risk for your particular circumstances is up to you. But I will add this. I have known several smart people who ended up forgetting their master password, and they lost all their passwords. It hurts. So be careful.
Rough, rough. That said, don't leave it on your computer either. That's probably a bad place to put your master password. Okay, so to recap, we're going to create a new password and never use it anywhere else. The one place it will be used is for our password manager to sign in. There we have it.
The requirements are absolute minimum of 12 characters, and ideally 20. You want to avoid personal information. You want one character from each character family, and that's about it.
Excellent. Okay, Mac, let's get our call to action. What are we doing this week?
Right. Well, as you might guess, it's pretty simple. Maybe our simplest call to action yet. You just pick your master password.
Excellent. Excellent. So pick your master password. It's that simple. Once you've picked your master password, drop us a note, give us a line, let us know how you're doing. Okay, that's our super simple show today. Remember, just by listening, you are making an improvement to your privacy and security. We'd love to hear from you. So come visit us at ihpacademy.com by clicking on the link in our show notes. Thank you for joining us. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.